Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Serrato, and welcome to Applying to College webinar. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have some great panelists that I will be introducing to you shortly, who have some great information for you. First off, I want to explain what the CSF Alumni Network is and the CSF Young Leaders Board. We have a member of the Young Leaders Board here and a member of the Alumni Network as well. The Alumni Network, as some of you may know, our scholarship provides until K through 8th grade. And then after you graduate from 8th grade and you're no longer receiving the scholarship, you then become a CSF alumni, which means that we've created a network in that alumni group to help provide you with resources and guidance and introduce you to people if need be, while you continue your educational career. Off into high school and off into college. So that's a network that you'll always be a part of. Please, alumni who are on this call or scholars, current scholars who are on this call, just know that you can always reach out to us for any resources. Next, the CSF Young Leaders Board is a group of young professionals in New York City who have dedicated their time to helping CSF give guidance and provide more scholarships for kids. And so they're a group of individuals who they believe education is very important, and they've allocated funds and their time to helping you on, and they're here today. And so you'll get to meet one of them tonight. Just so everyone knows, we do have a trivia night coming up in January. We just had a trivia night a few weeks ago. It was a lot of fun. We gave away some prizes. So make sure to look out in your email for future trivia nights. We also had a webinar on financial aid and applying for financial aid and applying for and paying for college. So that was a few weeks ago. If you missed that webinar, we will be posting the YouTube link to it tomorrow. So look out for that on our social media. So quick social media plug. If you don't follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, this would be a good time to do so you can check out that financial aid webinar. So I'm going to explain the format of which today's webinar is going to happen. We're going to have each panelist introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their journey, and then we're going to have a brief Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce each panelist. They're going to talk to us about, like I said, their experience, and then get your questions ready. If someone is talking about something and you have a question, make sure to just write it down in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll answer that in the Q&A section. So first, Josh works at Gold. If you can just raise your hand so they know who you are. Josh works at Gold Point Partners, and his alma mater is the University of Michigan. We have Marie, who graduated from Columbia University and works at CSF as the Director of Scholarship Operations. So she actually works for CSF. We also have Kurt. He is CSF's Development Coordinator. He graduated from SUNY Purchase College. And again, he works for CSF as well, and he's going to have some great advice for you. Last, we have Marjorie. She is a graduate of Hunter College. She has lots of experience in video production. She works as a junior producer at the Martin Agency. Marjorie was also one of the founding members of the CSF Alumni Board. So in order, I'm going to call on each of the panelists. You have about 4 or 5 minutes to share your experience about applying to college and what that was like for you and what tidbits that you have for our audience today. So Kurt, we're going to go ahead and start with you, and yeah, let us know.
Thank you, Nicole. I just wanted to say that I graduated from SUNY Purchase, like Nicole said, but I also went to SUNY Adirondack. So starting out of high school, my family wasn't in the position to send me to a 4-year school right away. So when I was applying for colleges, this is out of high school, I was only really applying for the schools that I was able to apply for free, and any kind of any guidance counselor or any kind of if you have any college application assistance program in your high school, they'll help you out with that, because there are usually programs for applying for colleges without a cost to actually apply. Because it's something that you'll find applying for colleges, it's costly and it'll add up. My second time after community college, I did end up having to pay for a few of those, but out of high school, I just really intended to go to SUNY Adirondack, it was very close to me, in upstate New York, which is where I'm from. So I was commuting there, saving a lot of money because I was going to a 2-year school instead of a 4-year school. And it's kind of, it's a pretty good experience. It's an easier transition from high school to community college because you're not, as for me anyway, I didn't leave the house. So it's kind of a low pressure situation for you to kind of get your grades up really high and then apply for college for 4 years, for a 4-year program, for what you're kind of more, you kind of hone in what you're interested in. So it does help you with saving a lot of money as far as getting a lot of, what do you call the credits? The non-major credits. Forgot what the word for that was. But then you also aren't paying for the 4-year tuition for those 2 years. I did graduate in 5 years total. Well, two in community college, 3 in 3 at SUNY Purchase. But overall, I saved so much money doing that route. And the second time applying for college, I kind of had a better idea of what I wanted to do. So I was kind of interested in an economics program. I didn't have that at community college, but that's fine because I was getting away kind of the earlier, that's a whole other situation, but I was in a business program at community college for my first year and a half. And then the final semester, I switched to a different business program because I wanted to take specific classes that my first program would not give me extra tuition coverage for. So that's another tip that I think that is very helpful, is that figure out how to maximize your tuition coverage. And the community colleges are very strict with how they do that because they want you to graduate in 2 years. So because I switched majors, it was just like a different business major. I was able to maximize my credit and get the class that I wanted, which I was going to need eventually for my 4-year program at SUNY Purchase. And you can see what classes you're going to need for that program while you're applying for it at the community college, which I got a really good recommendation from my advisor at the community college. And that's another thing that I learned very quickly was these are all people too, and they're all interesting, and they all have they're very helpful and they want to help you. And she was kind of helpful as far as helping me find my school, helping me find like a program that would kind of be in line with what I was looking to graduate with, and also know what I was going to need from SUNY Adirondack to go over to SUNY Purchase. And there was like a lot of quirks with the classes at SUNY Adirondack being 3 credits versus 4 credits at Purchase. But for the most part, I think all of my credits transferred over, and I was able to just go right into the program at SUNY Purchase. So that was so helpful, because when you're kind of doing all this stuff in your program at the same time, it kind of like snowballs, and you're kind of in that mode. For me, it was just doing economics, and that was fun for me. It doesn't sound like it's fun for a lot of people, but for me, it was fun. And I think without going to community college, I probably wouldn't have been able to afford my 4-year school program unless I was working through it. I was working through the community college program anyway, but yeah, I think that as far as the actual application progress, it was pretty similar. I was using Common App for both programs, but I had more of an intent when I was in community college to kind of figure out what I had. The intent was applying from community college to my 4-year program. I knew what I was looking for. I knew what kind of credits I was going to try to apply over, and I knew what credits I needed for the 4-year program. And then I think some of that actually would work for you in high school, because I did have AP classes that I also had to transfer into both community college and then eventually into SUNY Purchase. But yeah, that was my my road from high school to community college to SUNY Purchase. It all went well. I think all told, I switched majors, I think 3 times. But that's one way to kind of maximize your tuition credits, not tuition credits, your financial aid, because it just, for some reason, business communication would have a different financial aid than business entrepreneurship, but it did, and you should look into those kind of things when you're trying to maximize your financial aid and when you're trying to apply from different programs. So
Thank you so much, Kurt. That was wonderful. Just make sure you can change your majors. That's basically, and there's a lot more tidbits in there. So yes, nicely done. Next in line, I have Marjorie next on my screen. If you can go ahead and tell us what your process was like in applying for college and what tips and advice you have for our audience.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Marjorie, and I graduated from Hunter College in 2019. And I know going from high school into college can be like a bit intimidating. I think it's a big stepping stone, just because you're being given a lot of independence. Once you're in college, you're in charge of creating your own schedule. You kind of have to figure out like what courses and programs you need to take in order to fulfill the college requirements, and also to fulfill the requirements are being asked for your major. So I think one thing that really helped me during my college experience, just to like navigate and like not make it sound so intimidating, it's to like really take advantage of the resources that your college offers. And by that, I mean like meet with your counselors. And I highly suggest that you guys do that, because they're really there for you, and they're really there to help you. And I think they can help you navigate like what courses you are going to need in order to graduate. Because I know every college has like specific requirements that are needed aside from what you're going to major in. And even if you don't know what you're going to major in, like they can help you navigate like, hey, like, take this course and this can help you like, get a feel for like this program, or maybe this is what you want to do. So I feel like they're really there to help you, and they helped me a lot during my experience. And it just makes the whole college like experience so much easier, and like they're able to like break down like tools that they provide that can help you figure out what it is that you need to take in order to like fulfill the credits and to make sure that you're graduating on time. And kind of like what Kurt said, like, you're maximizing the credits, because I know for certain colleges, like if you take like after 4 courses, like your 5th one and your 6th course, if you're able to take it, like they don't charge that, and it goes in for free. So like speaking to a counselor will help you figure out those details, versus as if you didn't go to them, you wouldn't know those things. So they're just very helpful. So my tip is just to really take advantage of the resources provided at your college and make sure that you're meeting with your counselor.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marjorie. And next we have Marie. Marie, you can tell us what your process was like whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Nicole. Hello, everyone. And so my process was that of someone who had to kind of figure things out on her own, because my parents were new to the country, and one parent did not speak English. As a matter of fact, in my junior year of high school, I was the one who helped my dad to complete his FAFSA application because he didn't know how. Don't ask me how I figured it out, probably because I saw my brother do it the year prior. And so I was sitting with my then 40-some-odd-year-old dad doing his FAFSA application because he was applying to college for the first time. And so one of the things that I learned from watching my brother and what my dad went through is that it is okay to ask for help. Ask for help, ask lots of questions, because there are many people who are there to support you and guide you. Now, in this day and age, there is Google and everything. Google it. Google is great. There are lots of tutorials, but real live humans, many at your high schools, sole purpose is to help guide you. I had a wonderful college advisor in high school, and one of the first things she told us when we first met was, lateness on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine, which meant that if you brought stuff to her late, don't expect to get it done. So if there's a tip I can give you, it would be know all the admissions requirements for each and every college that you're interested in applying in. Also know all of the admissions deadlines. Different colleges have different deadlines, and you want to make sure you give yourself enough time to not only get things done, but to get things done well, because it does take effort to get things done well. And also, if you're asking for recommendations, again, you need people. So whether it's teachers, or if you're part of a program outside of schools, or coaches, people who will be giving recommendations. And so you need to ask them and explain to them what programs you're applying to, your interest is, and your deadline, so that they too can meet those deadlines to help you. There are many people who are willing to help you if you're willing to ask questions and ask for help. One of my biggest things in searching for college was trying to figure out what I really wanted in a college. And if I can impart anything else on you, is to be honest with yourself. I remember saying to myself, oh, I'm going to go away. I'm going to go experience. I'm going to leave Brooklyn, USA, go out there. And then my brother went away to college, and I was like, oh, I kind of like him. I was like, well, maybe I don't want to go that far away. So I had to be honest with myself. Did I really want to go far away? Did I want to go away, one? And then two, I had to ask myself, how far am I willing to go away? Did I want to commute? All those type of questions to really ask myself. Could I afford to go to college full time? Did I have to work while I was in college? So I had to be really, really honest with myself with, where did I see myself? I had to think about, how of a college or university I wanted to go to. Because I used to see things, parties, college life, yeah. And then I'm like, that's not me. Am I gonna do a sorority? I'm gonna do all these things. And then I realized that's not what I needed. It looked fun on TV and in the movies, but that was not my real life. Especially when I finally got accepted to Columbia University, and I realized I had to figure things out, and I went on a very sizable scholarship. So I knew I could afford to spend my time partying. And when I got to Columbia University, oddly enough, like I hear people say, okay, you'll make a list. You'll figure out your reach schools and the schools that you'll get into, and all these type of things. You have your mix, and those wonderful advice. But because I asked for help, I had a teacher who came to me and said, hey, Marie, have you ever thought about going to Columbia? And there was a young lady there in the guidance office when Mr. Weinberg asked me that, and she said, here, I have an extra application. That's how I applied to Columbia. I did not think in my mind that I was Columbia material. And so whatever fears I had that I wasn't good enough, when someone told me that they thought I was good enough for Columbia, I just said, hey, why not? And so when I got the acceptance to Columbia, and then I saw the financial aid package, which is another question you should ask yourself when you're looking at college. How much money do these schools give you for aid? Because some schools are better at giving money than others. And so I was just so happy that I found the right fit for me, because I was, even though live in Brooklyn, I was able to dorm in New York City, go to a wonderful institution, and not have a lot of debt. That also meant, though, that I had to figure out a lot of things while I was there and learning to live on my own. But I wouldn't change that experience for the world.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Maureen. That was very well said. Next, we have Josh, our young leader. Josh, take it over.
Awesome, thanks. Seems like I might be a little bit older than everyone else on this panel, so I'll try to provide some really good guidance and perspective if I can. But I definitely agree with, most of the things that everyone has said so far. I think they were all really great points and agree with a lot of them. One thing for me, and I know this has been said, is, especially as Marie said, you have a lot of resources at your disposal, particularly, with the schools that you're going to. They have guidance counselors and all sorts of resources to kind of help you, and you should seek their advice, and hopefully you have a relationship with some of them and they kind of know you, and they know all the schools out there, and they can try and come up with some ideas that might be a good fit, or ideas that you've never thought of before. So just do a lot of homework on the schools that are out there. Don't go crazy on the applications. I've heard of people applying to dozens and dozens and dozens. Maybe it's changed since I was in high school, but as long as you have a handful of schools that I would consider safety schools, a handful of schools that are kind of more likely that you'll get into, and then a handful of schools that you kind of consider reach or dream schools, if you will. Another thing that I thought was really important was going to the campuses, if that's possible. Visiting as many schools as you can, so you really get a feel for what the school is like. As an example, I visited GW in Washington, DC, and about 30 seconds into the tour, I turned to my dad and I said, okay, we can leave now. I just, I knew that I didn't like a city school. And so, then it was like, okay, I want to find schools with traditional college campuses. Talking to current students at those schools is also huge if you can do that, or talking to alumni from your high schools who've gone to certain schools, or if they've gotten in, if they applied, why they applied to those schools, what they like about the schools. As Marie said, just talk to as many people as possible and ask questions. And ultimately what you're looking for, there's so many options out there. You just want a school that fits the academic and social life that you're looking for. Look at the size of the school in terms of the student body. Where is it? Get a feel for the campus. Do you like sports? The fact that they have sports teams, is that important to you? Do they have intramural sports if you want to play sports? Student clubs, fraternities, sororities, just all that stuff kind of, if it's something you're into and, then great, then that's where you should go. Looking at all the programs they offer, if they're strong in business, if they're strong in political science, if they're strong in, history, whatever it may be. Those are things to, also consider. And one thing I would say in terms of being at college is really taking advantage of time to study, because there's always going to be distractions. And I think, one of the beauties of college is that you're on your own and you can kind of, meet a lot of people, do a lot of new things and a lot of fun stuff. And I think you should get involved in as much as you can. It's a great way to meet people, build your network and friendships that'll last a lifetime. But, I think one of the things now that I look at is, now that I'm, I have a full-time job and, whatever else going on in my life, when I was in college, I thought I had no time at all. And that's definitely not the case when I look at my time now. I definitely have no time now. And I wish I had as much time as I did when I was in college. So there's always going to be stuff to do. There's always going to be people to hang out with. So, take advantage of the time that you have, maybe just during the day while you have it to get things done. One other thing I would recommend is, and I know I kind of said this already, but just getting involved with, extracurriculars and meeting people. And it doesn't necessarily right away have to be things that, you think are important for your career, but it's great just to meet people and learn about different backgrounds, different things that people are interested in. I think that's probably one of my biggest regrets. I was in the business school at Michigan, which, I loved, and I took all the classes possible. And a lot of my best friends still to this day are people from the business school. But I kind of look at the networks that they've built, and, a lot of it was because of the extracurricular activities that they did, in the business school that I wasn't quite as involved in. And they just have these great networks that'll just, pay tremendous dividends down the road. And sorry, I took some notes. I just want to make sure I hit everything. But, another thing I think that I've learned now, having been in, the working world for, 7 or 8 years, is that, you really come across people from all different colleges, no matter what your career path is. And the reason I say that is because, there's really kind of no denying that, of course, there are some colleges where you may have an initial leg up in getting a job, or, meeting with certain alumni networks and things like that. But you can always get to wherever it is that you want to go as long as you work hard, honestly. Getting good grades, building your network of friends, mentors, professors, and taking advantage of what you have in both high school and in college. And then just working hard kind of once you have, whatever profession it is that you choose. I think you can really kind of get wherever you want. So, getting into a certain school is not the end all be all. Go to a school that fits for you and that you feel comfortable, and just enjoy it, and take advantage of all it has to offer.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Josh. And we're going to be moving into our Q&A section part of this webinar, and we already have our first question. So panelists, just a reminder, if you want to answer this first, just go ahead and click the button that says raise hand, okay? So first question, how early in high school should I start researching colleges? Who wants to tackle this one first? Perfect. Marjorie, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say junior year is the best time to research colleges and to start thinking about where you might want to go. Just because I know during that time, at least when I was in high school, I'm sure it's still the same, but that's usually, around the time when, you're starting to prepare to take your SATs and your and the ACT. And I think that's the time to also, research like what scores are required for the school for you to get in, or like what, they're expecting of you. Because I feel like once you get into senior year, there's so much that you have to do that, just piling on that research to do for college can be a little overwhelming. So for you to just get it out of the way, or to at least get started on it during your junior year, will definitely be a relief for you once you start your senior year.
Yeah, and Marie?
Definitely agree with Marjorie all the way. Take advantage if you have older siblings who have gone through the process, and you can start with them. I think being on college tours, if you're able to do so, will help and make a difference and help you to realize the things I like, the things that I don't like, the things that are important to me, the things that are not important to me. And you get to start asking questions with, and you say in Spanish, con calma, with patience, so that, like Marjorie said, you're not stressed about it, trying to, did I ask this, or did I look into this, did I do that? And there really aren't any silly questions. The only silly question is the one that you don't ask. I remember out of Kurt, one of the college tours that I went on initially was SUNY Purchase. And one of the young ladies asked question about the dormitory, about the furniture. And we're in high school and but that was important to her. I don't really remember the question, but we all just looked at each other like, oh my God, how embarrassing. But to her, that was important, but she got her question answered because she did not know that the dorm came with certain pieces of furniture. So she was trying to figure out, what do I need to bring to college? And so looking back, it's like, that was her real question, but the way she asked it was to ask about furnishings in the room, like about the bed and the dresser.
Thank you so much, Marie. Yeah, I think both of those answers, right? The earlier, the better. And list your questions when you're researching those colleges, when you start going on those tours. So we have the next question. This comes anonymously from our attendees. Will the Be a Student's Friend scholarship provide scholarships after high school, like for college? Let me see. If not, what scholarships can you recommend that would be offered for college? So I've never heard of that. I don't know if any of
I can answer that. I know that.
Okay, great.
So
thank you, Marie.
Sure. So the Be a Student's Friend scholarship is a scholarship under the Inner City Scholarship Fund through the Archdiocese of New York. That is only a scholarship for high school students attending Catholic high schools in the Archdiocese of New York. That does not continue into college. If you are needing help with applying for financial aid and things like that, plug Nicole. Go listen to our last webinar on applying for financial aid, but definitely research things such as fellowships. In New York State, there are programs like the Higher Education Opportunity Programs, EOP. And so many private colleges participate in the EOP program as well, not just the state and the CUNY schools. Ask the colleges, what do they offer? Academic scholarships? Do they offer money? Sometimes they offer things for, like, if you're of Italian heritage, if you're the first student in your family to go to college, there's extra monies. But I would first start off with that FAFSA form and understanding what goes on that FAFSA form, when that FAFSA form is due, and making sure you submit all of that, especially if you're applying for in-state schools in New York. There are other opportunities for financial aid. So again, do your research and ask a lot of questions and go listen to the webinar before this.
Thank you so much, Marie. I do want to remind everyone, CSF provides scholarships only K through 8th grade. But there is going to be a link tomorrow when we post the YouTube financial aid. There will be a link there on the financial webinar and also the presentation that they gave. So we're going to move on to the next question, which is, if I attend a community college, how do I know which credits are transferable to a 4-year college?
Yeah, I think I'm the one on this one.
Okay, thank you, Kurt.
That was part of the reason I went to the community college I went to, which was SUNY Adirondack. Because it was a SUNY, every credit transferred to SUNY Purchase. But it's the same if you go to a CUNY. All the credits are going to transfer between the SUNY programs, but the one issue is, well, one would be, I guess there would be two issues. If you're planning on transferring out of the SUNY program, there are more complications, which is why I went with SUNY Adirondack versus another one by me, which was Hudson Valley Community College was the other one. Yeah, so if you're planning on getting an associate's, I guess it matters less because you're going to have a degree at the end, but I didn't care about getting an associate's, and that's also part of the reason I changed majors, because I knew it was going to be transferring out. But that's where your guidance counselor is going to play. Like, they're going to be so helpful with that, and they're going to help you find a school that's going to actually accept your credits. and they're going to find one that will, your credits are going to go toward the actual major that you have. So like I mentioned, I mentioned before, but the credits that I took were three credits versus the SUNY purchase ones, which were 4 credits per class. So the only class that actually was an issue for me was actually the economics class that I took at SUNY Adirondack, being a 3-credit class. And because my major was economics at purchase, they wanted me to have a 4-credit intro. I actually don't even think it was intro because my AP credits transferred from high school. But there was some weird issue with that. But I was also very lucky because I was in contact with my professor beforehand, and I kind of had a good rapport with my other econ professors, so they kind of just let me bypass the introductory economics class at purchase. So there's a lot going on there, but the biggest takeaway is I guess just speaking to your advisors and your professors, because they're going to know best which credits are going to transfer, where they'll transfer to, and what ones you'll actually need to transfer.
Yeah, and just to add to that, because I think that was an issue for me once at the community college I went to, is also make sure whichever specific major at the college you're planning to attend, the university, get a list of the required classes and double check with that advisor. So it's not uncommon if you're going to a community college and you have a college in mind that you've already been accepted to, or you're considering going to, call their advisor and say, hey, I'm going to this community college. I want to go to your 4-year to finish off my degree. This is the classes I'm planning on taking, because that happened to me at City College. I actually took a couple classes at my community college that didn't apply to my degree, but they were able to like make an exception for me. But that doesn't always happen. So I would say also, in addition to talking to your advisors at your community college, go ahead and reach out to the advisors at the 4-year college and ask them for a list of classes that are incompatible, and then you can double check your work. So ask your advisors, but remember, ultimately you are responsible for the classes you take and the classes you don't take. So take initiative in that sense as well. All right, so we have the next question. The panelists mentioned getting advice from counselors at your high school. Do you have any tips on how to work with my high school guidance department on the college application? Anyone want to answer this? Like, I guess it's more of like, how do you work with the counselor? Like, what is that process like? So I'm guessing they've, never worked with one. So Marjorie, you want to go ahead and take this? Great, thanks.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing that you could possibly do, is to work with your high school counselor on the college application, because they go through this process every year with, past students. So, this process is very fresh on their mind. And aside just from helping you with the applications and like what you need to do and fill out, something that I found very helpful was like, they also are able to give you, sometimes they know like little codes, or not even a code, but they'll just tell you how to fill out an application for free, because sometimes, college applications, they have a fee of like $40 or $50, but somehow they have like a link that will let you submit applications for free. So because of that, I actually I didn't really pay for many of the college applications that I sent out. And it was because, I was able to get help from my guidance counselor. So definitely go for it. Ask your school how you can make an appointment. And I think that would honestly just help you make this whole process for you a lot easier.
Josh?
Yeah, I would I would definitely agree with that. And I think, the only thing that I would add is that, they're there for you. Their full-time job is to be, an advisor to you and helping you apply for college. So, set up as many meetings as you want. Whenever you have questions, I wouldn't suggest running into their office every time you have a question, but, you know, maybe kind of taking a stab at an application or looking through an application and making a list of questions that you may have, and then, you know, setting up an appointment and kind of going through those questions. And if there are more questions that come up later, you can always go back, but I wouldn't be afraid to use them as a resource.
Great. And then before Marie gives us her tidbit, I do want to let everybody know the financial aid webinar link is in the chat. Our social media handles are right here, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And Marie, without further ado.
Nicole, ditto, Audrey and Josh. I would add, be honest with your account as to where you are in the process. If you didn't do anything sophomore year or junior year and it's now senior year November, be honest about that. And then the counselor can help advise you from point. If you're someone who was the opposite from the time you got into the 9th grade, you were researching SAT prep programs, ACT scores, and all those requirements, then let the advisor know that as well, because the advisors can only better help you if you know where you are in the process. And if you don't know much about the process, or if you're confused, just say so. You don't want the counselor to assume that you know something that you do not. And you also don't want to spend the time reviewing something that you already know and is not helpful to you. So like Josh, go with your questions. And if your very first question is, I really don't know and I need help, that is okay. And like Marjorie said, they are there to help you and guide you, give you tips, give you codes. They understand how to fill out applications. In some instances, they may give you tips on how to make the application to particular schools even stronger. And some of the really good counselors will know admissions, college admissions people themselves, and will help you. So one thing that we didn't mention earlier, which I'll mention now, is that some colleges do require interviews. That may be part of your process. So that if that is, for example, something that you need help, how to practice for an interview for college admissions, that will be a good point to review with a college advisor. So they're not just there for paperwork, they're there for the other things to help fill in the blanks as well.
Well said, all three of you. So I'm going to go and move on to the next question. Should I consider applying for early decision? And what are the pros and cons of applying for early decision? I don't know if Marie's hand's up because she wants to answer this one, or she forgot to take it down from the last one.
Well, I forgot to take it down, but since you called on me.
Okay.
Well, early decision was something I know I personally did not do, because as I understood early decision is that you were committing to going to that college or university. And if that is your school and you did all the work to get into it, then definitely go for it. But I would say, if you're going to do early decision, then you have to start your college admissions and search process earlier, so that you are for certain that that is the school or schools in which that you would like to be at. And if that's what's going to give you peace of mind to say, I am, then great. But if you are still wishy-washy and you're doing, like Josh said, applying to 30,000 schools, then early decision is not right for you. And so look at the requirements for each school and early decision, because unfortunately, there's no blanket early decision commitment for all colleges and universities. Some colleges and universities set their own requirements for early decision. So understand what are by school and understand where you are in terms of your search and what will bring you peace of mind.
Yes, definitely. Does anybody want to take a stab at that question? Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Marie said it for us. Any more questions from, oh, here's another one. What is your advice on time management and balancing your coursework as well as a job and extracurricular activities? Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes back to what I was saying before. You know, when I first started speaking at the beginning, is that you do have, even though it may not feel like it all the time, you have quite a bit of time when you're in college, especially if you stay regimented about, you know, just getting everything done. You know, there's always time to relax. There's always time to hang out with friends. There's always time to do stuff. So just, you know, just kind of knocking things out of the way as best you can, I think is really important. And, you know, the other thing too is, you know, over my 4 years of being in college, you know, I kind of really learned the things that I liked, you know, how much I could handle, whether it be extracurriculars, coursework, because quite frankly, you know, without having gone to college, without having had freshman year, sophomore year, you don't really know what to expect, and you don't know how to manage your time, and it really is a learning process. And you know, rather than kind of diving in day one and saying, you know, I'm going to be the president of every single club, I'm going to have a job, and I'm going to take, you know, 3 extra credits more than what I'm supposed to, you know, just kind of ease your way in and kind of figure it out from there. And I'm not discouraging you from, you know, getting involved in a few things that sound super interesting that you might like, because I think you absolutely should. And, you know, you try as many things as possible, but, you know, there's kind of a balance between doing everything, doing nothing, and somewhere in between. So it's a learning process, and it's, you know, it's good to just kind of slowly dip your toe in the water.
And Marie?
Definitely encourage you to find the things that are of interest to you. There are lots of different cultural clubs, sports clubs, activity clubs. I mean, there were things like knitting clubs in college, things that I hadn't heard of before. That wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but if it was for someone else, I had to really learn how to manage my time, because it wasn't like high school where, yeah, period 1 you're here or block 1 you're there. In college, you have to ask yourself when you're building your schedule, am I a morning person? Like I learned, do not take any class before 11 a.m. Why? Because Marie was probably up doing her work until midnight the night before. So taking an 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. class was so not for me. So understand that about yourself. My brother, on the other hand, he felt he worked that night. So he didn't even start classes until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was his decision. And so some people also tried to take classes in the evening. I tried that once. I was too hungry. I would never did that again. And so I also realized things about my study habits. For example, you'll hear people say, go to the library, go to the library. Well, Marie went to the library and went to sleep. So no studying got done, but I had the best night ever at Butler Library. But then I realized that I was better suited for studying in my room, where I have friends who got really distracted by being in their room. So that wasn't the place for them. And so I had to kind of had to understand myself so that I could do the activities that I wanted to do, which I did. And I, like Josh said, you know, take it slowly. You don't need to sign up for 4 and 5 clubs and try to pledge a fraternity all at the time. And you understand you're taking extra classes, that also means extra work. And if your life situation is that you do have to work, you do need to make money, because maybe you got work study as part of your financial aid package, but many of us know work study may not be enough. And so all those things you do just have to be honest with yourself about, and kind of figure it out as you go, and figure out also what's important to you and prioritize the things that are important, whether it's the clubs, the making enough money, you can buy your books, have your meals, transportation, all those types of things. They're all important, all necessary. You just have to prioritize them.
Yeah, perfect. Well said. Josh, are you raising your hand for the next question, or you wanted to add a tidbit to this one?
I just, while Marie was speaking, there was just, I think one thing that I wanted to add, and, it's important to prioritize. And I think the number one priority, obviously beyond, your sanity, your mental health, your physical health, is your grades. So I think whatever you get involved in, whether it's a job, whether it's extracurricular activities, Greek life, I think, it's always kind of important to keep in the back of your mind, how is this affecting, how much time I have to study and get my work done, which, you may not know in the first semester. It may take 2, 3, 4 semesters to kind of figure that out. But, I think, just coming out of college, it's always great to have, a nice resume with a good GPA. So always being cognizant of that, I think is important.
Thank you so much. So we have our last question for the night.
I'm sorry, Nicole, I did want to add one more thing.
Yeah,
these things also apply to those who commute to college as well. So just because you don't live on campus doesn't mean it doesn't apply to you either. There is still a campus life, whether you're commuting to college or you're dorming to college. It just means your priorities and your situations are different. And I think Josh hit on something very important. Your priorities are your academic. However, so are your emotional and your mental health. And so you have to understand the things that you need, that you are mentally and emotionally capable with dealing with the workload that college will bring. It is work. College is fun, but you are there to work. And it is also what you make of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure that hit home with someone needed to hear that today. So we're going to ask the last question. And if we can we have about 8 minutes left. So this is the last question. I'm going to go around and just ask you all for one sentence to leave with the audience. So this could, what do you miss most about your college experience? And what was the transition to college difficult? Okay, go ahead, Josh.
I would say that the transition, I got there about a week before school started freshman year, and it was just kind of having fun and not really worrying about much. And then school started, and it was definitely an adjustment and kind of took me some time. But, I think the thing that I miss most, at least for me personally, is just, it's kind of broad, but just having so many opportunities, whether it's people being around or different things to learn about, different clubs to join, meeting new people, and just kind of always being able to do really whatever you want at the end of the day. Because trust me, when you become an adult, that's not really the case. So having that freedom to do a lot of things and just be your own person and meet people and do whatever, it's a pretty cool 4 years. So take full advantage.
Awesome. Anybody else want to tackle this one? The transition to college that first week, and what you missed most about the experience. All right, I guess I'll tackle it. Oh,
no, go ahead, Nicole. You go ahead.
Who was that? Okay. I want to say the transition to college is just knowing that in high school, sometimes your teachers tend to baby you. Give you slack. The college is just the complete opposite of that. Like, you are 100% responsible. No one's going to baby you. No one's going to remind you that your assignment is due. No one's going to remind you that a test is due, so just keep that in mind. Like Josh said, it is really a great experience because you just, you go from being almost, in my experience, from micromanaged in high school till college just kind of being let to do your free will, you know, and there's benefits with that. Like Josh said, you know, just being able to be your own person and kind of control that. But, you know, at the same time, know that there's responsibilities that you'll have to, you know, time management and keep your own schedule and keep yourself accountable. It might be helpful for me, it was helpful to find a few friends that we could keep each other accountable, you know? So I met friends in my classes, like in the first semester, and, you know, we got along and we're like, hey, let's all keep each other accountable. So it's like, if I forgot something, I would text her like, hey, we have this due, right? At this day, at this time, you know, how did you do with that? Like, and so I think that's really helpful with the transition to college is find like-minded peers in regards to, you know, just not that they have the same experience as you, but they have the same goals as you, meaning they want to do well and they want to participate and things like that. So I think that was very helpful when I transitioned to college. And yeah, that's our last question. That's my experience. So I just jumped in as a panelist real quick. Before we end, we just have a couple of minutes. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, especially the panelists. All sharing your knowledge and experience is going to help one of our alumni or scholars. So we really appreciate that. Again, audience members, if you're not following us on social media, here are all of the handles. And last tidbit, we're going to go around to the panelists and just give us one sentence. Or you know, Josh is like, what? One sentence. Just give us one sentence, just one tidbit or that you want to take away, want them to take away from today. We'll start with Josh since he's at the top of my screen right now.
It's the only time you'll have those 4 years, so take full advantage of it and enjoy it.
All right, Kurt.
Talk to as many people as possible and spend as little time as possible in your room, apartment, dorm, whatever it is.
Awesome. Marjorie?
Get involved in any clubs that your school offers and join any type of sports team if you're into that, and, you know, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Awesome. Marie?
Everyone there is in the same struggle. Everyone's in the struggle boat. And for you starting off at the first time as a freshman, so is everyone else. And it is a unique period in your time. Make the most of it. And you will actually probably make some of the bestest friends that you'll ever have in your life.
Amazing. Those are great tidbits. I know you all did an amazing job. I can't wait to have our trivia night, our next webinar. Look out for, that's going to be in January, a little bit later. We're going to be posting this video on our social media too. So if you didn't get a chance to take notes or you missed something that Josh or Marie or Marjorie or Kurt said, you can always refer back to that webinar. It's going to be a YouTube link that we're going to be putting up. So thank you again to all of our panelists. Thank you to our attendees who joined us this evening, and we'll see you at the next one.